So, in what initially looked like it might be a very difficult assignment, on his way to now matching the record of 50-0 that has previously been set insofar as being a reigning champion um, at 50-0 by Floyd Mayweather and retiring with that record, of course. Wanheng Menayothin completely destroyed Leroy Estrada in 5 rounds. He dropped him 5 times in those 5 rounds, and subsequently stopped him in the fifth round in a very just a brutal performance, and a performance that will definitely go down as one of his signature victories for sure. It was a mandatory challenger, was Leroy Estrada, who actually managed to win the shot at the title by defeating Saul Juarez, who had been one of the premier fighters at 105 and 108 pounds, with some of the victories that he's had there recently over the likes of Adrian Confessor, aka Big Bang Hernandez, former champion who's probably most well known for being the man that Naoya Inoue first beat to win his first title. But when him and Ayothin, he didn't waste too much time in there against Leroy Estrada. He tends to start kind of on the slow side. That, as I've mentioned in some of the past fights that I've covered of his, it only took about a minute and a half, or maybe 2 minutes, before he started just unloading on Leroy Estrada. Estrada appeared like he may be giving him a little bit of trouble with the southpaw stance, with the speed, the hand speed, with the body work that he was starting to give Menayothin in the first round. But Menayothin was just kind of kept the high guard, was kind of slowly stalking. It looked like just kind of calculating the timing and things of that nature, the angles. And he landed a really good right hand a couple minutes into the first round. Started to measure up pretty much the right cross, the left hook. You know, the two kind of signature punches that orthodox fighters would really want to use against southpaws. And he started landing them pretty accurately towards the end of the round. The first round was a round that you really could have gone either way with regards to scoring it, and it looked like the judges did as well, considering they had the open scoring. But I'll get to that in a second. The second round, Menard then started it off a lot faster. He started off really unloading a lot of right hands and left crosses, or excuse me, right crosses and left hooks, and looking to pretty much kind of match the volume that Estrada was giving him with his own. Estrada was going to the body quite a bit, throwing a lot of jabs out there, a lot of flicking kind of jabs to the head, jabs to the body, trying to keep Menayothin off of him. But not Menayothin, he's a very good fighter at cutting off the ring. Just has really good footwork in there, has a good management of distance, in spite of being on the short side, even as a strawweight, as a 105 pounder, he tends to be a little bit more on the stockier side of things, as opposed to being like real lengthy. Estrada, it appeared to have the length, the reach advantage over Menayothin. But Menayothin navigated the distance very nicely, landed a number of really good shots, appeared to rock him a couple of different occasions, specifically with a really nice right hand that kind of rocked Estrada back into the turnbuckle, like where it was kind of lucky for him that it was padded. Otherwise, he may have like hit the back of his head on the metal or something like that. And Menayothin definitely was able to control that second round, and it pretty much led to what you would eventually see in the third, fourth, and fifth round. Particularly to begin the third round, where about 10 seconds in, he landed a really just sweet right cross right on Estrada's face as Estrada was trying to throw his own left cross, and dropping Estrada subsequently from that. Estrada was able to get up. Of course, he made the 10 count, but Menayothin just kind of went maniacal on him, and started just unloading right crosses, left hooks, left uppercuts, right uppercuts. Just a two-fisted assault from Menayothin, looking to try and really just make a statement there. Mauricio Suleiman was there to for what was a pretty big occasion. Of course, the idea of tying the current record of a reigning champion without a defeat that Mayweather had set. Going into the fight with McGregor, I guess he didn't necessarily have that belt at the time, but at the very least, a world champion level fighter that assuming that record of 50-0 without a defeat, and retiring with it. It remains to be seen if Menayothin will retire with it. But getting back to the fight, though, Menayothin was looking to definitely make a statement. Managed to drop him again in the third round. Did so twice more in the fourth round, and I mean pretty much from the third round to the fifth round. Estrada was fighting back pretty valiantly, looking to survive. Definitely, he instituted a lot more head movement as he was kind of getting dropped. Because he was realizing that he couldn't let Menayothin just hit him so easily, so cleanly. Made it a little bit more difficult for Menayothin to hit him as cleanly, as easily. But even still, Menayothin just had a beat on him with that right hand especially, and with the left hook as well. But with that right hand was definitely the signature punch of this fight for Menayothin. Managed to drop him twice more in the fourth round, as I mentioned before. Landed a really nice right uppercut, left hook that kind of started the first knockdown, and then he managed to kind of fight back off the ropes and land a clean right cross that would drop him for the third time, albeit the first time of the fourth round. And then in the follow-up, he managed to drop him again with just a two-fisted assault, left uppercut, right cross, left hook, and dropping him again. And the thing is, Menayothin wasn't necessarily rushing his work either. He was definitely, even in spite of the fact that he had a strong sense of urgency about him, he wasn't necessarily just outright going wild and just throwing punches out the window in order to try to stop his man. But he was eventually able to get to Estrada once again, finally in the fifth, with just a brutal and beautiful combo, just a combination of about 6 or 7 different punches, and managing to drop Estrada. And finally, referee Jay Nady finally had enough. He waved the fight off. He realized that Estrada was so deep into a hole from all the knockdowns that he had suffered that there was pretty much no chance that he was going to be able to recover from that. And he had just basically called it right there. He was pretty much just taking a complete beating by that point. And so when Wanheng Menayothin, aka Chayaphon Moonsri, he'll be listed under Boxer as Chayaphon Moonsri. So for those of you guys that like to go on there and I guess maybe try and find out more about a given fighter. He's 50-0 now. He's managed to tie up that record, 50-0 with now 18 knockouts. And this will definitely stand out as one of his signature victories for sure. At the very least, a signature performance of his. And the thing is, he hasn't had a stoppage in a little while either. It's been since November of March of 2016 when he stopped the Go Daira, defending his belt back then. He had another good stoppage a few months earlier against Young Gil Bae, fighter from South Korea. That was actually a really good victory. That was another one of his signature wins for sure. And he was actually coming off of a really good victory as well over Tatsuya Fukuhara, who himself was the WBO champion, who had lost it to the current WBO champion, Yuya Yamanaka. I really do hope to see a potential unification for Wanheng Menayothin. Unifications don't come quite that often, especially at 105 pounds, and not as much as like you would normally see them at, say, like 108, 112, 115, where they happen a bit more often, I think, because of the promotional things that are kind of involved in that. At 105, it doesn't happen quite as often. And the other thing that kind of stands in the way is the fact that the WBO champion, Knockout CP Freshmart, is actually promoted by the same people. And I'm not sure if it's the case in Thailand, but I do know that in Japan, that two fighters of the same promotional group and or the same gym it's basically banned from them being able to fight each other, for the cases of potential corruption and things of that nature. But if he was to fight, let's say, the IBF champion, Hiroto Kyoguchi, or the current reigning champion, the current reigning WBO champion, Ryu Yamanaka, I think either of those fights would be really fantastic. Wanheng Menayothin's a guy that, even personally, like I do think that he's kind of on the fringes of, the pound for pound, top 10 or what have you. Really good fighter. He's got a good degree of punch variety. Is very good at cutting off the ring, very good timing. Just a really good fighter, and it's just a matter of his peers are out there, and it's really about trying to prove that you're above and beyond where your peers are at. Not unlike what at the next weight class up, Ryoichi Taguchi is doing. Where he was able to prove that he was the man there, even after Naoya Inoue had defeated him before that. Inoue's now much higher in weight, so there's not as much of a shame in losing to him. And he went about there, won his title, unified against Milan Melindo. He's looking to further unify against Kosei Tanaka, hopefully by the end of this year, and then even potentially Angel Acosta. I mean, we may have a undisputed 108-pound champion before a year from now, for instance. So I would like to see Wenheng kind of pursue the same things, but just the numerical value of his record alone, I think, is gonna definitely bring some more eyeballs, some more money to the low weight classes, as has already been the case with one of his countrymen, Suisaka Rungvisai. Even though they have no common promoter, no common manager, or anything like that. I do think that Suisaket's uh, bombastic victory over Roman Gonzalez, his bombastic victories over Roman Gonzalez, and the subsequent win over Juan Francisco Estrada, as well as Wanheng Menayothin's just overall level of success in going 50-0 as a reigning champion, and beating some of the better fighters at 105 pounds on his way to doing that, has kind of definitely stamped Thailand on the map, or at the very least reestablished Thailand as a powerhouse in boxing, which hasn't necessarily heretofore been seen as much on an international stage, at least not maybe since Kohosai Galaxy was plugging away and getting some of the big attention internationally, even though he was primarily fighting in Thailand. Um, but he definitely, along with Sri Saket, I think has put Thailand on the map, more so where a lot of people may not have necessarily thought of the country as being as much of a purveyor of high level boxers as it really is. There's been a number of really great Thai fighters. Your Eagle Kiowas, although he was based out of Japan, he was a fighter from Thailand, and your why am I forgetting his name now? your the guys, he's barely coming. Pongsiklik Wanheng. That's the guy I was trying to think of. Pongsiklik Wanheng, who was a champion for the better part of a decade without a loss, outside of the one that he suffered to one of his rivals from Japan, Daisuke Naito. But fantastic victory for Wanheng Menayothin. Definitely showing and proving out there with a blistering knockout, and a higher sense of urgency than he's had in the last couple of years. It seems like in some of his fights, where it seemed like he was a little bit more content to kind of outbox his opponents. But here, he definitely looked to make a statement, and I think that he did. That he for sure did. I would definitely like to see him come stateside. Hopefully there's a bit of a market for that, and I think just by virtue of being 50-0, I think there's going to be a lot of both success, as well as there's going to be a certain level of critical acclaim that comes with that, but also a level of critique that comes with that I think will hopefully open up some more opportunities for some of these guys at the lighter weights to make more money, and also to make these bigger fights happen as well. The fights that I mentioned before, him against Kyoguchi, him against Yuya Manaka, him against Jose Argumedo, who lost a very, very close decision to Kyoguchi for that IBF belt. I think those are definitely stern tests for Wenheng, and I definitely want to see him further tested in order to truly prove himself amongst the elite of today's top fighters. So this is going to do it for this one, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.